Hi everybody. I think it's time for us to do a little comparative analysis on the lettering. Um, just got these from the fire. This is, and I'll try to hold this still. This is the plastic lettering, and I haven't put any underglaze in that yet. And my line of lettering it kind of goes uphill or downhill. It depends on how you look at it, but it's not straight. And then this one is the alphabet soup lettering with the underglaze in it already. And I'm going to show you how I did that. Ooh, I missed a little spot on the T there. I guess I can get that now. I put a little underglaze in a saucer here, and I'm using a teeny weeny brush. Just, it doesn't have to be real pointed. It just needs to be small. And so I just basically painted it all over. Let's see. This one probably can. So I painted it to look, it's not real careful, but I kind of jammed it into the depressions that the lettering made, and this is also the alphabet lettering. And so on this, I missed a spot right there where the T is, on the very edge of the T. It needed a second coat anyway, so I'll just go over the whole thing. I guess I got that kind of thin, so let me put some more in there. This is the underglaze I'm using. Dark Nautical is the name of it, and it's just a really, it's so navy blue it's gonna look black. Black is such a dead color, and so I like to use combinations. Even when I'm painting, I like to use combination of green and purple, red, dark blue, whatever I have to do to make a black without just using black straight out of the tube, because sometimes it's kind of just dead looking. Okay, so don't worry about getting it on the rest of it. I mean, you don't want to swamp it or anything, but I kind of like the way the star is. So I'll come back to this in just a minute. I'm going to show you, let's see. Okay, I already did this side of this one with the underglaze. Probably need to do a second coat. But after you do put that in there, you just take a damp sponge, very damp, very wrung out, not sopping wet, however you say that. And then you just wipe across it, and the underglaze stays in the little spots. So let's wipe this one off. Let me rinse my sponge. And I'm turning the sponge every time I take a swipe at it to keep from just, I don't want to rub the stuff into the clay. I just want the outline of the stars to show up. So then you keep rinsing your sponge. Now this is on bisque. Can't do this when it's greenware. It would not be the same. Okay, so there's that one. This is for my son. Let's darken this corner of this one a little bit. I guess I got too aggressive with the sponge. Let that dry before you, always let that dry before you smear it around or try to wipe it off, because it seems like you just kind of grind it into the clay if you don't. So there's that one, and there's that one. So this is the alphabet letters. And then I had some kind of little metal stamp that I just stuck into there on that one. Let me see if I can. There, that's not bad. Okay, so let's see. We've got Pete's and we've got Ron's. Let's put some Underglaze in this Munchies. So I'm using the Underglaze is straight out of the bottle. And I'm just using a tiny brush, and the reason I'm using a brush is to jam it down into those little crevices. If you just wipe it on there or wipe across it with a large brush, it might miss some of those spots. So I'm kind of dabbing it a little bit with a loaded brush there. Okay. After you fill these little spots with the Underglaze, then after it dries, you can just glaze this like it was any other pot. And the Underglaze will stay where you put it. And the other glaze will just act like it would if the letters were not there. And actually, I take that back. It might cause the glaze. If you have a runny glaze that's going to run, say, from up here to down past the letters may catch some of the glaze, and it'll just act like texture, like any other texture that might be on your pot. You know, I think the difference between these letters is, one, the style of lettering on the alphabet soup is more of a kind of an English Roman, what do you call those fonts? It's kind of a Roman Times or something like that. It has little accents on the ends of the letters. These plastic letters that I showed you, the ones that I found at the thrift store for, I'm ashamed to admit it, for $1, the letters are more like Arial font. There's no curviness, it's just straight, plain line. Okay, we got our M. On this Munchies canister, I tried to distract the eye from the fact that this line of lettering is so crooked by putting some, because it went down on this end, I put some stars and this little line out here, and then put this star over here. I don't know, it just seems to visually balance it a little better than it did without it. So without the stars and everything, it was so obvious that it was crooked. So with the stars, it sort of made sense to me. And it has to make sense to somebody, right? Might as well be me. Okay, I'm just making sure I got all the little spots filled. And I guess you'd say this is kind of equivalent to 2 coats of underglaze. If you don't have enough underglaze on something, it shows up blotchy and when it's fired, and it looks like you didn't get enough on there. So you want to make sure you get a pretty good concentration of it. Even though you're using a dark color and it looks like you have plenty, go ahead and do what the instructions say and put 2 coats on there at least, because it does kind of soak into the clay. Okay, we're going to let this, let's get this little part. We're going to let that dry. This goes to Pete's. Pete's a tea drinker rather than a coffee drinker. This Ron is a coffee drinker. So I made him this little lid so he could steep a tea bag in his mug. So there they are. I'll be back in a minute and we'll wipe that off and we'll wipe that off. These are probably as dry as they're going to get. Let's try to wipe some of the overpainted part off. And see, I'm turning my sponge. Let's see, I probably could use that side. Turning my sponge every. I think this white one does better. This white one is part of an old chair cushion. Some of you have probably seen my video on that. So don't panic if you see that smearing a little bit, because you can wipe it off. Besides, you're going to be glazing over it anyway. And you could also use a little sandpaper if you felt like you needed to clean it up even more. Like if you're going to use a real light color of glaze on it or something. But I think any color of glaze is going to cover that. This one is for the reason this person is a martial artist and happens to be my son, and so I thought on the outside of the mug, so if he takes this to work, on the outside of the mug it'll have his name because he's right-handed. On the inside of the mug he can have that to remind himself that he doesn't have to take any stuff off of anybody. Anyway, it's kind of a inside joke. Okay, so that one's good. Let's put this one over here. Let me rinse my sponge. There, got that tea. When you, the only caution I would say on the alphabet letters, the little soup thing, is to make sure you have all the parts of the letter pushed in. Because I think where I had that T pushed in, or where I thought I missed a spot, I think I just didn't have the letter pushed in all the way. that I'm going to have to let dry for a little bit. I think I've got so much on there it wasn't quite dry. Let me take another stab at it. This is where somebody needs to take you and say, okay, give it some time. But we just keep messing with it, don't we? Now this is stoneware that I'm working on, and it is probably reclaimed stoneware. Probably not anything that you could say was any particular kind. It's kind of a mutt. This is the clay that I took out of the trays on the wheels after they get kind of full, and also the throwing water, and I reclaim it, and so there's no telling what's in there. As long as it's all the same cone, I've never been disappointed in any of it. And I like the color that it turns out. It is kind of a pink because I have some white stoneware mixed in there somewhere way back. And so it's kind of a fleshy color, pinkish color. Anyway, it looks pretty good, especially on things that you leave, if you use a wax resist or something on it, and it's going to show when it's completely finished, like something on it is going to show. It's a pretty color. There. Okay, so I'm going to leave that, and then we'll take care of this. I'm going to have to rinse several times on this one. And I'm wringing the sponge out pretty good because I don't want it to just wash it away. Oh, I like how those little stars came out. Okay, so I'm taking, all right, let me get the wash started. I think for quality, I think the plastic letters are higher quality, but I bet you that little package that I found of them probably costs, and I don't know whether that would be practical in a classroom of small kids. I think it'd be something you'd have to think about and make a decision based on your kid, on who you're doing this with. But that could be your determination. Usually at school, when I would pull lettering, one year I made clay letters, clay stamps of every letter in the alphabet, and then some other little flowers and things like that. Well, what happened was, of course, this was high school kids too that I did this with. What happened is they found the letters to their name and they kept the letters. I don't know what they were going to do with them outside of class, but anyway, they disappeared. So the thing is with those plastic letters, you need to do that with adults and consider your audience, and or use something like the little pasta letters that are pretty disposable. And the resource is you can replenish those. You can just go buy another bag of them. and you'll always have some. So kind of something to think about. Kids do weird things. Okay, so I really think that so my bottom line here is I like that the fact that I can that on these alphabet letters that I can sort of tousle the letters a little bit and deliberately get them off of the line, and or I can get them as close together as I want them to be. With the plastic letters, if you don't do them individually, if you put them in that little blue carrier and you just kind of roll that across there, the distance between the letters is predetermined, and there's nothing like right here. I probably would have scrunched those together a little closer, like the S, and there's just, for me, there's too much space. This looks manufactured. This looks more personal to me. It just looks like I took some other kind of, it just wasn't the same procedure, and it's not as mechanical looking, I guess. I'm not sure what word I'm looking for on that. But this, the quality of the letters is better, but I would definitely put them on individually. Now, I think I've got some other canisters out there by the kiln that are that I did the letters individually. So you'll probably be seeing those pop up in another video. But that's I just wanted to show you what those look like and how to make them show up. So then the next thing for these is to wax the bottoms, and then I'll probably glaze them and fire them pretty soon, and I'll show you those when they come out too. All right, thanks for watching. Y'all take care. Bye bye now.